everyone, I'm Kim, the mom boss behind EmeryandK, and today I have a tutorial that is perfect whether you are a beginner or an advanced tumbler maker. I'm going to show you guys the simplest way to hack an ombre. I'll go ahead and put a picture of the tumblers on the screen now for you to see. So today we're going to be doing two tumblers. We're going to be hacking them both. The process is very similar, but I could not decide which decal I wanted to use for this tutorial, so I always thought, let's just do two. So this is perfect if you are a beginner and kind of intimidated by doing an ombre. I know when I first started, I was like, I can't do that. I'm never doing that. And hacking your ombre is a really fun way to get that look, but with a little bit less stress. It's a little bit of a simpler technique. So yeah, I will list and link everything I use in the description box below. I'll also have a few discount codes for you there as well if you want to save on some of the goods. I think that's that. Let's get to it. Today we're going to be using two 16-ounce travel mugs from Steel Magnolia. I've sanded them. In the first one, we're going to go ahead and paint with extra guacamole and sugar coat it from Color Shot. So this will be for our matcha cup. So it's important to remember when spray painting your ombre, you really want to go with just short, quick, light bursts of paint. You do this for a few reasons. It helps you to get your fade really good when painting an ombre. It also helps make sure that you don't get runs, because if you get a run, you're going to have to go in with some acetone, wipe it off, fix your paint, because we're not covering these with glitter. So it's imperative that you don't have a run in your paint, because obviously you will see it. So when you're painting an ombre, I think the most important thing to remember is just to take your time. Like I said, don't rush it. I hold my can probably 12, sometimes 18 inches away. I find the Color Shot paints have more of an overspray than Rust-Oleum paints. So I would definitely recommend, if you haven't painted an ombre on a cup before with spray paint, to practice on some pieces of cardboard. That will really help you understand how far away you want to hold your can. It'll kind of help you figure out the angles. That's just the biggest, I guess, hurdle when painting an ombre on your cup with spray paint, is just figuring out kind of your distance and your angle. So I lay out my two colors at first, and then I'm going to go back in and kind of fill in the fade with my darker color. So when I'm painting an ombre, I always start with the darker color first, and then I go back in with the lighter color, and then go back with the darker color, and then go back with the lighter color. Very similar to what I do with glitter, but I'm just doing super short, light bursts. So now we're going to paint our other cup. We're going to be using Warm Caramel from Rust-Oleum and Heirloom White from Rust-Oleum. Heirloom White is just a creamy white. It is so pretty and perfect to go with the color scheme on this cup. So again, we're going to repeat the process. And like I said, if you look here, you can see the Rust-Oleum paints definitely have less of an overspray than the Color Shot paints do. So this is where practicing on cardboard, if you're not familiar with doing an ombre with even different brands of spray paint, to really understand how your paints are coming out of the can. I promise, it sounds kind of silly, like why would you paint on cardboard, but I promise it will be worth it, because you don't want to paint your cup and then end up hating it and just kind of having a mess to deal with. So I'm going to repeat the process here on this one. Now the Rust-Oleum paints, the coverage on these two colors is really good, but definitely the same technique. You're going to lay out your colors first. Now you can see this one I set aside to dry, because the Rust-Oleum paints don't dry as quickly as the Color Shot paints. I like to let it dry about 5 to 10 minutes between kind of each layer of paint, if you will, that I do. I also find the coverage of this Heirloom White to be less than the Color Shot paints, which is normal, but I want to make sure I get good coverage with that Heirloom White before I go back in and fade up my darker color, just so that I can just do each color twice and it'll be good to go. So again, holding your can 12 to 18 inches away from your tumbler. As you get closer to that center, you're going to tip either your can or your cup. You're going to kind of tilt it away and pull your can up so that you can really get a good fade. Just take your time, you'll get it, I promise. So now I want to give my cups some shimmer, but I don't want to use glitter. So we are going to be mixing some of these white micas from the glitter guy into our epoxy. And I don't have exact measurements of how much epoxy I'm putting on each cup. I would say it's probably like 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons maybe is plenty. So the first epoxy cup, we're going to add some avocado ice, which is a white with a gorgeous green shimmer. I love this mica. These are two of my favorite white micas. This is why I did 2 cups, because I could not decide which one to use. This one here is golden ice, which is a white mica with a gold shimmer. Oh my goodness. One of my favorite ways to add some shimmer to my cup is to sprinkle a little bit of mica into my epoxy. It really doesn't take much, and they are stunning. And this is a great way to add a little sparkle to a cup for somebody who doesn't want glitter. I always tell my customers when they say they want a cup without glitter, I'm like, well, do you want a little bit of shimmer? Here you can see this is that avocado ice with that little bit of green, and there's that golden ice with that gold shimmer. These are stunning. So once our layer of epoxy has cured, we're going to move right on to using water slides. So I actually use a laser printer to print my water slides so I don't have to seal them. Alternatively, if you are using an inkjet or an eco tank, which is I think what most people use because a color laser printer is just incredibly expensive, especially right now, you're going to want to go ahead and give your water slide 2 to 3 good coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss so that your image doesn't like wick off of your paper. Make sure that you let it dry in between each coat. Don't rush it because you don't want to ruin your water slide. So as I get ready to apply my water slide, water is your friend. If you haven't used water slides before, just remember water is your friend. So have a towel under your cup because things get a little bit wet. I also love to use a silicone makeup brush, and that is what I prefer to use to flatten out and remove excess water from my water slide. So when you're doing these mugs, it's important to consider if the person using them is right or left-handed. When I make them for my customers, I always ask, because a right-handed one you're going to hold in your right hand and the image will be out, and then the opposite for left, you'll hold it in your left hand, the image will be out. So just consider that when making mugs if you're not going to do the image on both sides. So my water slide's been sitting in, this is just warmer than room temperature water, for about 45 seconds. You'll know it's ready when it kind of starts to flow off the edges of the paper. So I put a little bit of water on my cup, and then I place my water slide onto that little bit of water that I put on my cup. And I prefer to just take the edge off. You slide it off just a little bit, and then I hold that edge down. And as you saw, I pull the paper backing away from the water slide, and that I find helps to make sure that I don't get little curls on the edge of my water slide. So you want to go ahead and make sure you get it nice and straight before you remove the excess water, because once you remove that excess water, you can't move your water slide anymore. So once you get it nice and straight, I just eyeball it, but you can definitely measure it with a ruler if you want to. You're going to use that little makeup squeegee. You're going to start in the middle and squeegee out all that excess water. Once you have all the excess water squeegeed out, you'll go in and lightly rub with a paper towel, and that just helps to ensure that you've gotten the extra water out, and it just helps kind of dry out the image. On this cup, we're going to repeat the process. So I'm going to put my trimmed water slide into my little plate of water that is just warmer than room temperature. It's going to sit for about 45 seconds, and it will be ready to apply on our cup. So the matcha cup I did right-handed, and this Potter cup I'm going to do left because I'm keeping this one for myself and I am left-handed. So you'll see the handle is on the opposite side. I do like to put something under the handle so that it holds my cup up straighter. I just find it easier to work with than having it kind of like at a weird angle. So repeating the process here, you can see I'm kind of testing my water slide. When it slides around easily, it's ready to go. You don't want to have to tug and pull on your water slide to remove it from your paper because you will ruin your image. So I'm going to repeat the process here. I put a little bit of water on my cup. I'm getting my image on there, kind of lining it up, but I'm not going to worry too much at this point. I like to pull off the edge and hold it down and then pull the paper from the opposite side. And now I'm just checking it. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not going to measure it. This image is pretty simple to see if it is straight or not. So I'm going to start in the middle with that makeup squeegee. We're going to squeegee out that excess water, and then we'll go in with our paper towel. And it's super important when you do this, make sure that you have good lighting and that you can really see, and make sure that there are no little bubbles of water under your water slide, because if there are, you will see them after you epoxy. One of the best things about Waterslide to get this really gorgeous color image on your cup is that it disappears between layers of epoxy. So as long as there's a layer of epoxy, a smooth layer of epoxy under your Waterslide, when you put another layer over, the lines from your image will disappear and it looks flawless. Just make sure it's a smooth coat. No sanding under Waterslides. Trust me there. Now there's kind of some mixed opinions on how long you should let your water slides dry before moving on to epoxy. Some people say overnight. I don't find that necessary. I usually wait about an hour and my cups are ready to get on my turner and get 2 more coats of epoxy before they are totally finished. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and maybe a little bit inspirational. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more tutorials in the future, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Until next time, happy crafting.